I used to believe that marriage was like a house we spent our whole lives building, timber by timber. I thought the foundation Clara and I laid over 8 years was indestructible. We had weathered career shifts, losses, and the struggles of life. But somewhere along the line, the structure began to rot from the inside out, and I was the last one to notice. It started so subtly. Clara, who used to throw her keys on the kitchen counter and run to hug me, began silently slipping into the house like a quiet ghost. Her smiles became polite transactions, the kind you give a stranger who holds the elevator door open. Her work as an interior designer suddenly demanded endless late-night site visits and weekend consultations. I wanted to trust her. Trust was the absolute bedrock of my entire life, but our instincts are older and smarter than our desires. You notice when the person who shared every thought suddenly guards her phone like a secret. You notice when she buys clothes that never leave the closet. You notice the shift in the air, the coldness that settles into a room the moment you walk in. I spent weeks in a state of quiet panic, hoping I was imagining things, until the truth finally forced its way into the light. One Tuesday evening, Clara went out for a run. She left her tablet on the kitchen island, unlocked. I didn't set out to spy, but when a message banner popped up with the name Vance, my heart stopped. The message read, "The luxury hotel suite is booked for next weekend. I can't wait to see you." My hands shook as I opened the chat thread, and years of history evaporated. There were photos and plans meant only for me. The pain was immediate and suffocating, but a cold clarity took hold. I realized a screaming match would change nothing. It would only give her a chance to lie. I wanted absolute closure. The next morning, I visited a family lawyer. I wanted a clean slate. I had the divorce papers drawn up quietly, keeping my composure intact as I signed my name. The following Friday, Clara packed a small suitcase, kissing my cheek with a practiced, superficial warmth. She told me she was heading to a design expo in the city and would be back Sunday night. I looked her in the eyes, saw the deceit hidden behind her casual smile, and wished her a safe trip. Once she left, I dressed in my best suit. I knew exactly where they were going. It was the high-end rooftop restaurant where we celebrated our 5th anniversary. I drove there with the leather portfolio containing the divorce papers resting on the passenger seat. The atmosphere was thick with low music and chatter. I scanned the room and found them immediately at a corner table. Clara looked stunning in a new dress. She was laughing, her hand resting on another man's arm. The sight of her looking at him with the same warmth she once reserved for me was a physical blow, but my resolve didn't waver. I walked over to their table, my footsteps steady on the polished hardwood. Clara's laughter died when she saw me standing there. The color drained from her face, leaving her pale. "Julian," she whispered, her voice cracking as she instinctively pulled her hand away from Vance. "What are you doing here?" Vance began to stand up, his jaw clenched. I didn't look at him. I kept my eyes on Clara, completely calm. I placed the leather portfolio onto the table. "You forgot your design portfolio at home," I said, my voice quiet but carrying clearly over the soft jazz. "I thought you might need it for your presentations this weekend." She looked at the portfolio, her fingers trembling as she unzipped it and pulled out the legal documents. The bold letters at the top of the page read, "Petition for dissolution of marriage." Her eyes widened and a tear escaped. "Julian, please," she stammered as other diners began to notice. "This is a misunderstanding. We can talk about this at home." I looked at her, and for the first time in months, I felt a sense of profound detachment. "This is our home now, Clara," I said softly. "You made your choice, and I've made mine." She reached out to grab my hand, her voice a desperate whisper. "It was a mistake, Julian. He means nothing to me." "I love you." I gently stepped back, out of her reach. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have made me a stranger. I deserve more than the scraps of your affection." I turned and walked away, not waiting for her to plead further, ignoring the quiet whispers of the surrounding tables. The cool night air hit my face as I walked out, and for the first time in years, I took a deep, unrestricted breath. The weeks that followed were difficult. The silence of the empty house was heavy. Clara came by a week later to pack her belongings. There were no more dramatic pleas, just a somber, heavy silence as she carried boxes to her car. Before she drove away forever, she stood by the car door and looked at me. "I never thought you'd actually walk away," she said. I looked back at her and replied, "You never thought I valued myself enough to." That was the last time we spoke. Over the next year, I focused completely on my custom carpentry, reconnected with old friends, and spent hours hiking in the mountains. I rediscovered the man I was before I lost myself. One evening, a message popped up on my phone from Clara. It simply said, "I still miss the life we built." I stared at the screen, remembering the pain, but feeling none of it. I typed back, "So do I, but that house is gone." I locked my phone and set it down, realizing that the closure I had sought didn't come from her apology. It comes from the moment you stop waiting for them. That night at the restaurant, when I handed her those divorce papers, I didn't just end a marriage. I reclaimed my dignity. And as painful as it was the first time in years that I truly felt free.